and welcome to Mexico for the penultimate round of MXGP. It's round 17 of the MX2 World Championship, and it's the MXGP of Leon, where there have only ever been two motocross Grand Prix in Mexico. The first of those back in 2012 at Guadalajara, and then we came here for the first time last year, which saw Jordi Tixier crowned MX2 World Champion in what was a very dramatic finale. Tixier, when he won here last year on his Red Bull Factory KTM, went 1-3 to take the overall. But there are shades of 12 months ago, because there are two riders still going for that MX2 World Championship crown. Of course, Tim Geiser, the new championship leader, and Pauls Jonas. So crowd starting to make their way in here. We had a lot of rain overnight last night, and this 1,500 or so metre long circuit, well, it was heavily ripped through the evening, and it was pretty muddy this morning. Not everybody went out on track, but let's take a look at the circuit in more detail with Tyler Rattray and Thomas Covington.
Tyler Rattray, number 28, Monster Energy Kawasaki.
Thomas Covington, number 64, and for Team Monster Energy Kawasaki.
So down the start straight then, about 90 metres into turn one. Across the foxhole shot line, right on the entry point, over the first crest, and then into turn two, which is a right-hander, 180 degrees, pretty fast and sweeping through there, over a crest on the exit, and then as they drop into turn three, we have another crester. Slightly tighter turn three, but then on the gas, second, third gear, over a slight rise, hooking up through fourth as they go right, over another single, and then the first major jump on the track. The Monster Energy, more of a double triple. If you want to go short, you can, but you can also get all the way over the top. Through the left-hander, and then we get on the gas, short burst, over another pretty decent-sized tabletop jump, 25 meters, something like that, and then braking hard into this 90-degree right-hand turn. If you come to the outside, you can double in your way over the Dragon's Back. Otherwise, there are 4 waves on the way up, 2 on the way down, and then we arrive through this long sweeping turn 8, where the waves continue to go through the whole of that turn, and then again on the exit, over the Ippon tabletop jump, about 21 meters. Exit the 180 left, over the crest, through a series of big rollers, under the Monster Energy banner, and then we go left, furthest point away from the start line area, and then a double or a triple. Most guys in MXGP getting over the triple yesterday, a lot of the guys just double single in MX2. Then we hit turn 11, over the crest, through the left-hander, a long straight, and then braking hard for this off-cambered right-hand turn. Short straight, through the left, over the double jump in the trees. And then this crest last year is obviously not the double it was, which is where Tonkov and Tixier crashed on the opening lap of race 2 in that dramatic finale. Small double, big tabletop, take us into the final left-hand turn on the track, and then it's a long straight back past pit lane, through a slight kink, and then over the Monster Energy finish line jump. The riders then land on the start straight to embark on another lap here at Leon. Right, Lisa Leyland is down on the grid, and let's see how our championship contenders are getting on. Here she is with Pauls Jonas.
Hello and welcome to a very muddy MX2 pre-grid. Don't let the sun deceive you, because it's definitely going to be a mudder out there today. Now I'm going to speak with our pole sitter, Pauls Jonas. Hi Pauls. Pauls, now it's crunch time. Do you feel any different? We've got 2 rounds to go. What's the feeling at the moment?
I'm feeling really good, you know, I have nothing to lose, and I'm just feeling really relaxed, and feeling really good. And yeah, yesterday went pretty good, and hopefully today I can get the same start like yesterday, and just yeah, maybe do the same race. But you know, track is really muddy, and that's gonna be for sure really difficult, but I'm gonna do my best.
Now, you lost the red plate in Assen. Does that take the pressure off a little bit at this stage or not?
Yeah, maybe not take off the pressure, but just it gave me extra motivation. I'm feeling really, really motivated, and yeah, we will see. You know, we have still 4 motos to go, and when the checker flag falls in Glen Helen after second moto, then we will see what's the result.
Okay, best of luck. Thank you for that, pause. Now, I'm going to speak to Tim Geiser now, who is the current red plate holder. Tim. Hi, Tim. Just a quick word. Just tell us, now you've got the red plate, does that really put the pressure on? I was just speaking to Pauls, and he's saying that he's a lot more motivated than he was before.
Yeah, actually, maybe I can feel a little bit, but not so much. You know, I try to take calm. You know, we still have 2 GPs to the end. We will do our best. You can see that in the night was raining really hard, and the track is pretty muddy. So it will be interesting race. So I'm really looking for.
And in terms of the altitude, I know yesterday after qualifying, a few people were saying how it did affect the power of the bikes. Is that the case with you, or is everything okay in that area?
Yeah, actually, we have many problems with the bike. Actually, on the start, you know, I have really bad start in qualification race. But anyway, we work. Yeah, we try something new this morning, and yeah, I can feel that it's better. So I'm really looking for.
To know. Good luck. Thanks for that, Tim. Now, time to speak to a man that we haven't actually seen all year. It's round 17, and it's his first GP. It's Calvin Verlanderen. Hi, Calvin. Calvin, where have you been?
I've been injured. I got injured in January in training camp with my trainer John van den Berg, and I had some bad luck with my injury. I had 3 operations and just didn't heal up in time, you know. And but yeah, I'm out here and I'm trying to do my best just to get experience and to have fun.
Totally mixed conditions today. I mean, the temperatures are pretty high, but in terms of the ground, it's very muddy out there, so we have got mud on our hands.
Yeah, it's completely different to yesterday. Yesterday was perfect. The conditions was absolutely perfect, but today, yeah, it's a little bit muddy. I didn't go out and warm up, but I'll go out for side lap and look at the track, and it should be a good day. Just going to go out and have fun.
Have a good race. Thank you for that, Calvin. MX2, race 1.
Take a quick look at the championship standings then. 13 points clear. Tim Geiser picking up the red plate last time out at Assen. Pauls Jonas losing the championship lead, of course, when he crashed at turn 1 at the start of the second race. He damaged that front brake, but Max Anstey still not out of it yet. Of course, we've got 50 points on the table here today in Leon, and another 50 on the table in a week's time at Glen Helen in the United States, the final round. So just 44 points off the lead, that guy there, Max Anstey on the Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki. Will he be able to influence anything that is going on ahead of him? Of course, at the moment, it looks like Tim Geiser and Pauls Jonas there, 13 points apart. There's Stefan Everts. And the interesting thing this morning, in morning warm-up, maybe 3 or 4 guys went out on track, a couple of locals. There was Max Anstey went out, both the standing construct Yamahas of Julian Lieber and Valentin Guillot, the HSF Logistics KTM of Brian Borgers, they also went out. But while they were out trying to make their way around what was a very, very muddy racetrack, Pauls Jonas coolly preparing his start gate as they were causing a bit of a headache for the mechanics. But if you missed it yesterday, here's what happened in the qualifying race. In the time training session, it was Pauls Jonas who was fastest from Tim Geiser, Valentin Guillot and Julian Lieber. And in the qualifying race, it was Pauls Jonas who grabbed the foxhole shot. Just behind him, Julian Lieber and Valentin Guillot. Guillot, though, didn't last a lap. He fell over on the far side of the circuit and crashed down to 16th. Had to work his way back into 8th place by the time the checkered flag fell. But up front, without a care in the world, number 41, possibly without the pressure of the championship leader's red plate, was starting to pull clear of Julian Lieber, Thomas Covington and Tim Geiser. This guy here on the HSF Logistics KTM, number 10, Calvin Verlanderen, was well placed for the first 3 laps in 5th, but he had the number 6 of Benoit Paturel breathing down his neck. Eventually Paturel on the Khmer Yamaha went through on lap 4. Tim Geiser really just seemed a little bit off the pace. You may have just heard a moment ago about altitude. We're 1,800 meters up, almost 6,000 feet up above sea level here, believe it or not. So the bike's just running a little bit slower than they otherwise would do. And Geiser just not able to get on terms with Thomas Covington and Julian Lieber ahead of him. And he just sat there in 4th place for the entire moto. So the Honda Garibaldi rider would have made some changes overnight, but we do have a different racetrack on Sunday after overnight rain. Max Anstey, number 99, started just outside of the top 10, but got himself up behind Calvin Verlanderen. Those two were fighting over 7th. Eventually, Anstey went through around about lap 8, got himself up into 6th, and then went after Benoit Paturel. And Anstey, you can see the hard nature of the ground, very similar to what it was last year. Julian Lieber, Thomas Covington, Monster Energy Kawasaki, and Tim Geiser were pretty much equidistant throughout the whole of the qualifying race. But it was Lieber who was in control of that little battle. But some way behind, around about 7-8 seconds behind, Paul Jonas, who just got his head down and concentrated, just staying ahead of everybody else. Hitting all his marks was Paul Jonas. A little bit further down, Calvin Verlanderen eventually dropped down to 7th place. Valentin Guillot, as we said earlier, got himself up into 8th. Brian Sue, in his second ever MX2 Grand Prix, got himself to 9th. But Petr Petrov was 10th. Brian Borges in this battle here, behind the blue TM of Samuele Bernardini, eventually found his way past Bernardini. So too did Jeremy Seewer, got himself into 12th. Bernardini eventually coming home in 13th place. Covington made a slight mistake. Geiser was able to close in the closing stage of the race, but didn't threaten that 3rd position. But in the end, though, it was Paul Jonas Red Bull KTM Factory Racing that crossed the line to take his first ever qualifying race victory, but also his first ever race win in this MX2 category. Lieber was 2nd, Covington 3rd, Geiser, Anstey, your top 5. And so this is how the riders will line up to the start as they qualified in that heat race yesterday. Paul Jonas taking his first ever qualifying race, as we said a moment ago. Julian Lieber with his best qualifying position in 2nd. Thomas Covington, the 3rd time he was in the top 3 this year in the qualifying race. Tim Geiser was 4th, Anstey 5th, Paturel 6th. First GP ride this year for Calvin Verlanderen. In 7th, Guillot, Sue and Petrov, your top 10. And there is Tim Geiser and that red championship leader's number plate strapped to the front of that Honda Garibaldi machine. A lot of work gone on the track overnight. You saw the conditions from the qualifying race yesterday, hard and slick. A lot of people of the opinion this morning, when we arrived here, they knew that rain was on the way, and the decision was made to heavily rip the track. Of course, that then goes in the ground and makes it even more heavy out on the circuit. And a lot of riders saying this morning that had they have just left it hard and slick, yes, it would have been a little bit greasy on top, but the track would have been more open. It would have been drying out possibly, because it is warm at the moment. We haven't had any rain this morning, but it'd be interesting either way to see what goes on here in the races today. Julian Lieber there, standing construct Yamaha Yamalupe, 2nd in the qualifying race yesterday. Of course, got on the podium at the opening round in Qatar. And there's Thomas Covington, 3rd in the qualifying race yesterday. He was one of the riders that opted to sit out the muddy warm-up this morning. So too Petr Petrov. Valentin Guillot went out with his teammate Julian Lieber, and actually on his final lap fell as he landed off the finish line jump. Got on the gas, the back end came around on him. That rider there, number 92, and he was down on the deck, picked his bike up, rode across the start straight and swiftly back to the paddock. He only had about a minute or so to go anyway in the qualifying session. But Paul Jonas taking the first gate at the inside. Lieber, Covington, Geiser, Anstey, the number 6 there, the 2nd blue Yamaha, Benoit Paturel. What's going through that mind of Tim Geiser? Arrives here as a championship leader, was a little bit off the pace yesterday in the qualifying race. So he will be looking at trying to rectify that. Jonas, you saw his whole shot, how good it was coming out of the gate yesterday in the qualifier. And again, he will be looking at pulling another similar start. He spent a lot of time down on the start line this morning during the MX2 warm-up, prepping that start gate. 15-second board has gone up here. We're getting ready for the first race of the day. 30 minutes plus 2 laps. The 5-second board has turned. Geiser, gate number 4, and Jonas, it looked like he hit the front wheel on the gate, and it's Thomas Covington. Looks like he's going to grab the foxhole shot as, riders going over the handlebars. Petrov being one of those guys, is it, under the bike. Looks like 3-4 guys, and Jonas and Guillot was down there as well, and Jonas all of a sudden comes out in first place and Covington down in 4th position. So it looked like there was some bar banging going on into the first corner. And none of the guys could steer their way out of trouble. And there is 152 Petar Petrov. Couldn't do anything about it, but it's Jonas who leads the way at the moment. Who's that in 2nd position? Looks like Anstey, maybe. Number 99, then Paturel 3rd. Geiser in there in 4th. You see him trying to feel his way through the inside there. Interesting to see what combinations the riders have gone for in terms of roll-offs or laminates. Jonas coming through towards us now. Look at the water on the track. But the Covington machine, number 64, it was then confirmed as the Fox Holeshot winner. The first, I think, for him this year. But number 6, Benoit Paturel, just there in 3rd, in blue. Geiser, the 243, the championship leader. He is in 4th place. Behind them, Thomas Covington in green, number 64, just flashing through the bottom of your screen, top of the screen now, doubling in nicely. Brian Sew on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki, looks like he's next. In 6th place, then Julian Lieber in 7th. Ivo Monticelli is 8th, Calvin Valander in 9th, and Jeremy Sewer is 10th. Brian Borges, Harry Kulas, Noel Krieger, Samuel Bernardini, Alejandro Ruggiero, Valentin Guillot and Brent Van Donnick, and we're still waiting for Petar Petrov to find his way around this first lap, but see how heavy it is. That's as a result of the heavy ripping last night and the heavy rain through the night as well. And this is the first Real Murder Maggiore. There was a more definitive line because we had a lot of European action out on track that weekend. But here, just MX2 and MXGP. But the riders making their way over the line for the first time then. And it's Paul Jonas with a 1.9 second advantage over Max Anstey. Benoit Paturel is 3rd. This guy here, Tim Geiser, is in 4th place. Covington 5, Brian Sew 6, Lieber 7, Monticelli is 8. Valanderen has been pushed down to 9th because Sewer has gone up into 9th place. Man down, 602, I think that is Alejandro Ruggiero. So the local rider just picking himself up, but here comes Jonas once more, and we'll give you a lap time next time around, of course. They went from the start line, so they didn't go through the finish line beam. But Jonas didn't go out in practice. And here he is, pretty much riding blind. And there's Petrov. Petrov, is that Guillot? Van Donnick then. So Van Donnick coming in, 172 on the Khmer Yamaha. So he was another rider possibly that got caught up in that first turn crash. Petrov, one of those, Guillot, one of those as well. And there's Petrov, can't get his bike started. So out of the race then is the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider from Bulgaria. Walks back disconsolately. Here is Paul's Jonas though. Already over the line. Or making his way back towards the line. So it's a pretty long lap here. 140 or so yesterday, 149 in free practice 1. In time practice it was 144. And in morning warm-up, the MXGP riders, for instance, going around in 220, just to give you some idea. There's Anstey closing in on Jonas, it looks like. It was 1.9 as he came over the line for the first time. But Tim Geiser, well, anybody who tries to race this track will get punished here today. You see how difficult, how tricky, how treacherous it is out there. As the leaders make their way back towards the line. Jonas over the line, a 2:15.3, a 2:16.8 for Anstey. That gap now 3.4 seconds. Paturel over the line, about 3 seconds further back, and then Geiser 4 seconds adrift of the Frenchman. There's Covington, just riding a smart race, actually, not getting too close to the rear wheel of Tim Geiser. Doesn't want to be sprayed with all the roost off the back of that Honda. And you look at the track now, how heavy it is, how wet it is, how ripped it is as Geiser struggles to get through that left-hand turn. More rain due around about 3 o'clock today. Oh, Jonas, just the front wheel came upon him, so he just had to correct himself there. Right, center of the screen. The Kawasaki of Petrov. Oh, and looked like Gio got tagged there and went straight on. And look at that Kulas. Oh, that was a big crash for Petrov, straight over the handlebars. Gio going down, sends the journalist sprawling. So Honda Garibaldi mechanics look on. There's Jonas, here's Anstey. Lieber's gone down. Julian Lieber from 6th place on lap 1. That is on the Dragon's back. So second lap then, Lieber out of 6th. Just loses, what, the 1 position maybe? No, he's lost 3 or 4 places according to our split times out on the track. So Julian Lieber then throwing away a good opportunity. There's Brian Borgers, 189. And the Alejandro Ruggiero going down again. So just, you see how difficult it is out here. Hard and slick, the higher up you go. Very deep and ruddy, and that's where Ruggiero went down, going into the corner where Tixier and Tonkov fell at the start of race 2 last year. So here's Geiser. It worked out yesterday during the qualifying race that if it was to finish like that in the real races today, a win for Jonas, for instance, and 2 for Geiser goes down. Geiser, the championship leader, out of 4th position. He was short on the top of the finish line jump. He picks himself up, he keeps that engine going, he loses a position to Covington. Just jumped short. He got bounced, the back end came around, and then heart in his mouth, straight over on the shoulder as well. So all of a sudden then, Jonas, instead of, Jonas on 25 points, and Geiser here, he was looking at 18. And now he's looking at 16 points, but he looks like he's in good shape. Apart from the handguard there. Hopefully there's no damage to the front brake. So Tim Geiser looks like he only lost 1 position there to Thomas Covington. In that crash, who's that just behind him? It should be Brian Sue, but definitely Covington now up into 4th place. Team Monster Energy Kawasaki. What's going to be going through Geiser's head now then? Just because it was a slight mishap, sent him down. Yeah, good words there from his crew chief. Needs to settle down. Maybe he's just carrying a little bit of pressure on those Slovenian shoulders. Just from the same angle that we had it originally. Doesn't look to be a problem there, but just short. Then the back just came around on him and he would have had no idea. Championship leader down at the end of the 2nd lap. Start of lap 3, over the finish line. Goes from 4th to 5th. Looks to have regrouped. It's not good though when you're being down in these conditions. Gloves all of a sudden get muddy, handlebar grips muddy. Words of encouragement from his crew down there in pit lane. Look how heavy it is, look how slow the bikes are as it just gets heavier and heavier down there at pit lane. But look at Jonas here, and is that Siwa? Siwa also falling from 8th place. Losing a position there as well. But no such dramas for this kid. 41, Paul Jonas, riding without a care in the world at the moment on that Red Bull Factory KTM. He is now 5.5 seconds clear of Anstey. Sets the fastest lap of the race that time around as well, a 2:15.2. And just picking his lines, picking all his markers. Got yellows over on the far side after the triple. So Jonas then just getting a little bit offline. Oh no, Guillaume has a problem as well. So all of a sudden, Guillaume from 12th place. Trying to work out where that is on track. Looks like it might be turn 2, actually. Turn 3, the left-hander. So very, very deep over on the far side. And Guillaume, that's his second crash that we know of. Picks himself back up and rejoins the race. But here is Paul's Jonas. Just ahead of Guillaume, actually. Quite a way ahead. Half a lap, almost a full lap. Clear now. As Jonas comes over the line one more time. 4 laps complete, and he almost goes down the same way as Tim Geiser did 2 laps ago. Taking it a little bit too wide there, Jonas, but doesn't want to get caught in all the ruts, so just using the wet, sloppy stuff just to change direction. Let's have a look at that again. Jonas, takeoff perfect, landed, bit of a panic rev at the top, short, back end came around. Not as dramatic as Geiser's, but he did manage to keep it up on 2 wheels. So waiting for our race leader, there he is, just coming out of the left-hander. Here he is, Paul's Jonas. 17:50 on the clock, plus 2 laps. Max Anstey in second position, 5.3 seconds down he was at the end of that 4th lap. We're on lap 5. Jonas is circulating slightly quicker than him, again another 10th or so, but they're working their way towards the finish line. About a half a lap to go here on this 5th lap. Paul's Jonas has led from the start. Valentin Guillaume, Petr Petrov, and Brent Van Donnick. Harry Kulas went down at turn 1. Valentin Guillaume has since been down again. But Calvin Verlanderen here in 10th place. He is in 12th on that HSF Logistics KTM. Here's Anstey in 2nd place. Benoit Paturel is 3rd, about 9 seconds further back. Covington is in 4th. Geiser, who was in 4th a couple of laps ago, fell spectacularly over the finish line jump. The back end came around on him when he landed. He is in 5th place. Brian Borges is 6th. Monticelli 7th. Brian Sue is 8th. Julian Lieber 9th. And Harry Kulas is in 10th. Then we've got Jeremy Seward, Calvin Verlanderen, Valentin Guillaume as Anstey wrestling with that Monster Energy DRT Kawasaki. Bernardini is 14th. Then we've got Mandonic, Krieger and Ruggiero. See the problems that some of the riders are having. If they jump short, it's hard and baked underneath. The track heavily ripped last night, even though we knew that was going to be heavy overnight rain, and it is just nothing more than a swamp out there on track at the moment. Some riders and team managers were probably saying that actually between the jumps, as it was yesterday, hard and slick, yeah, it would have been a little bit greasy on top for the races today, but at least the track would be maybe drying out, it'd be a little bit tackier, and then if it rained this afternoon, then you've got yourself still a pretty decent racetrack to go racing on. But it is what it is. That's how you see how heavy it is where the riders are landing off of the jumps. Very, very heavy. We're 1,800 meters above sea level, almost 6,000 feet. As Brian Borges just gets the power down on his HSF Logistics KTM. Normally the guy's seat bouncing over that, no problems at all in this big tabletop into the final corner. Borges in 6th place. Oh, we've lost Brian Sue, according to our monitors. Brian Sue down from 8th place down to 11th, so somewhere over at the 2nd or 3rd intermediate section. Brian Sue on the Rockstar Energy Suzuki. Somebody else coming in here. That's one of the locals. That's the 61 of 61 of Niall Krieger. Siwa, Lieber. So Lieber going through. Oh, and down he goes. So Julian Lieber getting it wrong on the standing construct Yamaha. He was in 8th place. Everything looked all right to that point, just got on the downside and then just lost the front, caught the edge on the rut. Face full of water as well, that's not the way to go. Monticelli capitalizes though, goes around the outside, nicks a place. Yeah, mechanics looking out as well. They know exactly what's going on out on track, what's going through the riders' minds, and they've got a lot of work to do to get those bikes turned around as well with jet washing, getting them prepped, getting back to the waiting zone for race 2 later on this afternoon. 14 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Here's Jeremy Seewer riding nice and hard and aggressive. Well, he was in 10th place, but obviously Lieber going down, I'm sure he would have capitalized there. There's Van Donnik going through. And there's Jonas. Very, very difficult conditions here today in Lyon. Jonas will be picking up 25 points, though. He will move to 530 points in the championship. It'll put him to within 4 points of Tim Geiser. Geiser will be on 5.34, Jonas on 5.30, Anstey on 4.96. So Anstey still not out of it just yet, but is that Lieber again? Over the Dragon's back, so riding without gloves. He took his goggles off. He's obviously come out of the corner. Back end's got around on him. And just looking at it, thinking, why have I even bothered? And he was one of the guys that went out in morning warm-up as well. Julian Lieber and his teammate, Valentin Guillot. And now these guys are struggling here in these tough conditions. Jonas, though, talk about bringing your A game to the table when it matters. Dirk Grubel, team manager for Red Bull KTM Fracture Racing MX2, looks on, wincing as well, looking at some of the conditions out there on track. So we've got Jonas now, hard on the gas. As hard as he can be, at least. Standing up, letting the bike do the work. Benoit Paturel had a good start. He's still there in 3rd position. Well, there's Van Donnik. There's the 61 of Kruger. Oh, Seewer, or is that Brian Sue? Brian Sue is in. So Sue comes in. Out of 15th position. As we try to make the riders out as they come over the line once more. There's Paturel. So Paturel still circulating in 3rd place. Number 6 on the Kamiya Yamaha. There's Geiser. Geiser in 5th position. Benoit Paturel, 9th in the championship. How far is he ahead of Thomas Covington? About 15 seconds. There is Covington in 4th place. About 5 seconds further back is Tim Geiser. And as I said before, Tim Geiser, 5.34, Jonas on 5.30. That would be the championship. Going into the 2nd race, we've got 10.5 minutes plus 2 laps to go in this first race here. MX2, race 1. MX2 Grand Prix of Lyon. There's Geiser. See a dry line starting to appear now in some parts of the racetrack. The MXGP guys will be looking at that as well, as is Dean Ferris there. Geiser definitely closing in on Thomas Covington. So looking at picking up another couple of points here, vital points, because that would take the gap back out to 6 points here in the battle for the championship chase. Lieber off again. on lap 7 for him. And that was the final corner, goes straight down into pit lane. And I wonder if he'll call that a day. Number 33, Julian Lieber. So 9.5 minutes to go then. Paul Jonas, 9 seconds clear of Max Anstey. Benoit Patrol is third, but the battle here for 4th place. The green Kawasaki, the Monster Energy machine of Thomas Covington. There is Lieber. Covington under pressure from Tim Geiser in 5th place. It was 5 seconds in it as they came over the line at the end of lap 7. What will it be as they cross the line at the end of this 8th lap, though? Anstey going over the line now, 12.4 seconds down, but look at the bikes, caked in mud. Fast drying as well, that is. Oh, here is that battle for 4th place. Covington and Geiser. Geiser caught between the devil and the deep blue sea here because he knows he has to race the track, but you try to race the track and it will catch you out. But looking for lines, all the same, and the Kawasaki of Covington starting to smoke a little bit, looking like it's overheating. So 8 laps gone. The gap between Covington and Geiser, well, barely a second, as you see as they cross under the Fox Holeshot sign. Another rider down. Just obscured by the trees there. Trying to work out where that is on track, actually. Might be turn 3 again. There's Covington and Geiser. They're having to pick their way through. Geiser just a little bit offline as he goes through turn 4 and the long straight down the back straight. Obviously, the mechanics can obviously hear something or see something, and we can see it as well. The bike's starting to overheat as well, the Honda. Lots of mud. Kate between the radiators there. The bike's starting to overheat, so some anxious-looking faces down there at Honda. For Tim Geiser, save the bike is the message. And he does work that bike hard as well, Geiser. You always hear him on the limiter as he comes in to land off the jumps. Jonas 12.5 seconds clear of Anstey. Patrol is third. This battle here, Covington and Geiser over 4th place. The guy in the red Honda there, Tim Geiser, is the championship leader. He was 13 points clear at the start of the race, but coming into the closing stages of this race, he has a 4-point gap over Paul Jonas now. He's on 5.34, Jonas on 5.30, and Jonas is the rider that's leading the race after 8 laps. We have 7 minutes plus 2 laps to go. Very definitive line starting to appear now as they come over that crest in the background at turn 11. And then look how deep that rut is there at turn 12, the off camber. No one using the outside through there yesterday, but is that Lieber down again? Save the bike, clutch. Both those bikes are smoking though. The Kawasaki of Covington, number 64. And then the 243 of Geiser into the final corner they go. Down past pit lane. Geiser will see the bike steaming ahead of him. Covington will see the pit board out to Geiser, the rider behind him, save his bike. Bernardini. So Bernardini, he gave me, when I was down at the start line area as the riders were making their way to the line shortly before we came on air, I asked him if everything was okay, and he shrugged the shoulders and went, yeah, it's not Italian weather, this is it, in his Italian accent. Geiser going straight on. That was actually the point where Julian Lieber felt 2 laps ago. So Bernardini down, local rider going through, Krieger. Covington getting some distance on Geiser, so maybe heeding the notice of his team. Save the bike, and they see him just running off track there, or just running it too wide, wider than he wanted to. The 243 of Tim Geiser. Bernardini. Well, he was in 9th place. Didn't have the strength to pick it up. 4 3/4 minutes to go. Is Brian Sue, or is it Jeremy Seawer? Seawer. So Seawer now in 8th place, 4.5 minutes to go. Couldn't quite get the tear-offs there, and deciding to discard of the goggles. Went for a tear-off or a roll-off, and if it was roll-offs, they were clogged up. But look at this, Jonas lapping Jeremy Seawer in 8th place. The rider just ahead of him hasn't lapped him yet, but he will see the 91 and think, well, okay, I must be getting further up the field here. Jonas, 2:26.7. There's Bernardini's bike just being wrestled off of the track there. Anstey, 13.2 seconds down. But what a ride for this kid, Pauls Jonas. Not afraid to get up and over the big stuff. Picking his lines very well. Track starting to dry, as you can see there, as they go through the first corner. There's Covington going through. Is he closing in on Benoit Paturel for a 3rd place finish here? There's Geiser going through. Anstey will be about 38 points off of Tim Geiser in the championship chase if he stays where he is in that 2nd position. Tim Geiser just losing ground now. 2 laps to go, the mechanics put the board out, save the bike, clutch. They reckon he was probably just riding it a little bit too hard, trying to make up for that mistake that he made that saw him go from 4th place when he was behind Anstey and Paturel. Oh, short again over the tabletop. Dragons back, this is where Lieber went down. Well, Lieber's been down on what? 1, 2, at least 3, 4 occasions, Julian Lieber. Julian Lieber now circulating in 14th, although the intermediate split now showing he's found his way past Ivo Monticelli. Monticelli on the Marchetti Racing Team KTM being pushed down to 14th as Lieber goes through to 13th place. Up on the pegs, trying to let the bike do some of the work here, Tim Geiser. Over on the far side of the circuit, that was a triple jump yesterday, up into turn 11 here. See how those deep ruts are. As I said before, the ground dries very quickly here. Geiser just landing. Again, just getting offline ever so slightly. Tough for the riders when it's like this. If you've been behind somebody all the race, the weight on the top of the helmet, wedged in between the goggles, and right, just taking the goggles off, actually, probably wants to breathe a little bit, give himself a bit more visibility as well, Tim Geiser. He knows he's got Covington just ahead of him, but since he's decided to back off and save the bike, he knows he's not planning on getting too close to the rear wheel of the Monster Energy Kawasaki rider. This is where he fell early on in the race, Tim Geiser. The start of lap 3, just completed his 2nd lap when he fell from 4th to 5th over that Monster Energy finish line jump. No danger of him hitting the rev limiter there, though, this time around. But Pauls Jonas now 10.3 seconds back, clear of Anstey. Jonas at 2:29.9, Anstey at 2:27.062 that time around. 11 laps complete. Here is Jonas. Has yet to win a race at World Championship level in MX2. He won a qualifier yesterday and in a press conference yesterday. After qualifying, he said, yeah, so far getting off to a great start here, or the perfect start to the weekend with that qualifying race win. And he couldn't believe how easy it was in the qualifying race yesterday, he said off camera. But doesn't want to be relaxing too much because Anstey will maintain that pace. He's already pulled it back almost 3 seconds on lap 11. Time is up this time around. It's going to be 2 laps to go. Oh, is that Brian Bogus? So Bogus out of 6th place. over on the far side. So on his 10th lap, Brian Bogus on the HSF Logistics KTM goes from 6th. And picking himself up and riding very, very slowly, but look how hard Jonas is having to work his weight all the way back as he goes down past pit lane. The 2-lap board has gone out, and we're waiting for Anstey. I think Anstey just goes past our commentary position now. Yeah, 10.3 seconds, so I was only a 10th quicker than Jonas that time around. So Jonas still, even in these closing moments of this first MX2 race here at Lyon, knows it's got to be concentration all the way to the finish line. Look how difficult it is here. He's up on the pegs, he's carrying a lot of speed, and when you carry that kind of speed, it helps you get through some of the worst conditions. It's just when you're legging your way through, you don't have the drive, obviously that's when things get clogged up. But he's only known one pace all through the race. There's Harry Koulas, 151. He's in 6th place, actually. So despite crashing at the start of the race, Harry Koulas has just worked a steady pace through to 6th. He's nowhere near Tim Geiser, though, ahead of him in 5th position, but he's got a pretty hefty gap back to Jeremy Seward in 7th place. There is Max Anstey over the Dragon's Back. Haven't had conditions like this for a long time. Maggiore, there's Lieber. So Julian Lieber, the standing construct Yamaha Yamalube rider then, out of 13th. So Tim Geiser here, just trying to get mud off the front of that helmet. Doesn't look like a lot, but it's amazing how heavy the helmet gets when it's caked in mud like that. Start to sweat, the linings start to expand a little bit, or the helmet comes a little bit looser on the head. You end up sort of having to recorrect to get the best visibility out of it, but he's closing back in on Thomas Covington. So despite being told save the bike, he's having one last effort here. Tim Geiser going back after the American Covington. And Covington, well, he's just rode a very steady, very smart, very calculated race. The rider 14th in the championship. He will stay 14th as well. 2 4th place finishes overall in the 2 flyways in Thailand and Argentina, rounds 2 and 3 for Thomas Covington. Yet to finish on the podium, but putting himself in a good position here. 4th at the moment. Jonas already over the line. So too Anstey. That gap now less than 9 seconds between Jonas and Anstey, but it's going to take something miraculous for Anstey to take those 25 points. And the race win on this final lap here as Covington and Geiser come out of the final turn, hit the same rut, and getting caught there was both riders actually. Covington lost drive, Geiser got back up to him, and then he also lost a little bit of ground right in front of the mechanics down there in pit lane. So Covington, a couple of 5th place finishes earlier on in the year in Thailand, got him 4th overall, 2 7ths in Argentina. Had 2 6th place finishes as well. The 2nd race in Italy in Mantova, and the 1st race in the sand in Assen last time out. But Paul Jonas, well, he led the championship for 2 rounds. He arrived in the Netherlands and Italy with the red plate, but lost it at Assen last time out to Tim Geiser to the tune of 13 points. And Geiser, well, he will have a 4-point advantage going into race 2 if it stays like this. We've still got about a third of a lap to go. Paul Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing, though, 8.9 seconds clear of Max Anstey at the start of the race. At the start of this final lap. Just picking his way through very carefully. Doesn't want to make any mistakes, not on this final lap. He knows he's got time on his side. Max Anstey just too far away to do anything about it, but the back end just getting away from him there. Paul Jonas. over the crest. Just a couple of corners to go. Takes a long look over. Couldn't believe how easy it was yesterday, he said. Maybe his bike was just running a little bit better at altitude to the guys behind him, but he's definitely mastered the mud here in Moto number 1. And Pauls Jonas, in the difficult conditions here in Lyon, goes past pit lane, and he takes the checkered flag here and wins for the first time in MX2. Pauls Jonas finally has a race win in MX2. And he picks up 25 valuable World Championship points here in Lyon. Anstey crosses the line just 4.4 seconds adrift. Does not tell the full story, really. Benoit Paturel, we wait for him to cross the line any moment now, surely. He will go over the line in third on the Khmer Yamaha. Think he might have just gone through now, yeah, 26 seconds down on the leader. Covington, we're waiting for him to come through. Here's Geiser, he was fifth at the start of the lap. And Covington goes through in fourth. Great ride for the American, and Tim Geiser ends up in fifth place, and that championship lead is down to 4 points. Geiser still leads it, though, after the first race. But Pauls Jonas will be riding on a whole load of confidence after that first race win. He picked up his qualifying race win yesterday as well, his first ever. And today in Moto number 1, a first ever race win for Pauls Jonas. Paturel over the line in third, Covington fourth, Tim Geiser fifth. We still wait for Harry Koulas, but he should be in sixth place. And we're getting ready to go down to speak to our race winner, Pauls Jonas, Red Bull KTM Factory Racing course. He's going to be all smiles as he speaks to Lisa Leyland. So let's hear what Pauls Jonas has to say about that victory in Moto number 1. Here he is with Lisa.
Pauls Jonas, congratulations, smiles all around. Your first race win of the season under very tough conditions as well out there.
Yeah, you know, I got a pretty good start, and actually I think Thomas Covington got almost a hole shot, but he went a little bit too wide in the first turn, and yeah, I got a hole shot, and you know, that helps a lot in conditions like this, because it's really difficult to pass, and you know, also for the lappers, I think yeah, Marshall should work a little bit more with the blue flags, and also riders a little bit more accept that, because it was really difficult to pass lappers. But yeah, now, you know, 25 points, my first win, it's for sure really awesome, and hopefully I can do it the same in the second moto, and yeah, and then we see.
Good luck for the second moto. Thanks, Pauls.
Difficult conditions here, but Pauls Jonas, the Mudmaster here in Lyon, takes his first ever race win in MX2. Yesterday's qualifying race was a milestone, but when there were 25 points attached to that race win, the Red Bull KTM Factory rider from Latvia came up with the goods. He's now 4 points behind Tim Geiser in the MX2 World Championship chase as we head into race 2. Jonas wins race 1 then, picks up those 25 points. Anstey second, Benoit Paturel third, Thomas Covington fourth, Tim Geiser was fifth, Harry Koulas sixth, Belander in seventh, his first race of the year in MX2, eighth for Jeremy Seewer, ninth for Van Donnick, and 10th for Valentin Guillot. Brian Bogus was 11th, Krieger, the Argentinian, was in 12th, and then Bernardini 13th, 14th for Lieber, 15th Monticelli, Su, Ruggiero, and Petrov. Championship now looks like this, just 4 points separate Geiser and Jonas at the top of the standings. Anstey third, Guillot, Seewer, Hurlings. Lieber now up to 7th, Tixier drops to 8th, of course, injured a few rounds ago in Mantova. Not here at the scene where he took his first title last year. Paturel is 9th, Petrov, no points for him. Petrov stays in 10th. Right, here's what happened in MX2 race 1. Thomas Covington, Team Monster Energy Kawasaki pulled the foxhole shot, but Petrov, Gio, Brent Van Donnick and Kulas all went down at turn 1. Petrov would not rejoin the race, could not get that bike started, but it was Jonas who led the way. Anstey was there in second, Patrell third, Covington fourth, but was quickly pushed back to fifth by the hard-charging Slovenian Tim Geiser. Near perfect conditions out on track for the start of this race. Just a little bit muddy though, as the Honda boys looked on at the progress of Tim Geiser down there in fourth place. Bulls Jonas looking at checking out as Julian Lieber had more than his fair share of falls. First of all, he fell on lap 2. That pushed him from 6th to 10th place. One of the local riders found himself down on the deck as well, not for the first time. Geiser, though, that was a talking point. Got it completely wrong at the start of lap 3 as he came over the finish line. The Slovenian went from 4th to 5th. Thomas Covington, the only rider to go through, as Tyler Rattray watched on. That was the replay of the crash again from Tim Geiser. Up front, though, Jonas was clear. Jeremy Seawer had a few moments as well. And so too did Valentin Guillot. Lap 4, found himself going from 12th place. Eventually got his way back up the leaderboard, though. Great ride for the number 10 of Calvin Verlanderen, finishing in 7th place. But the number 61, Nel Krieger of Argentina, came in for a pit stop, as did Julian Lieber after falling again. Needed to change goggles and gloves, and then 3 corners later, Lieber was down again. So he went from 4th to 8th to 13th. And Brian Soup coming in as well after problems whilst in 15th place, but Lieber knew that he would be picking up points in this first race if he could finish the moto. That's exactly what he did. Covington in the closing stages, though, in 3rd place, was put back under pressure by the 243 of Geiser, as one of the standing construct Yamahas fell once more. Geiser, though, his bike was steaming, so too was Thomas Covington's. Both riders being told to save their engines, really, but Covington it was who held on to take that 4th place by the time the checkered flag fell. But no such dramas for the Red Bull KTM of number 41, Paul Jonas, out of the final corner, and it was he who went on to take the checkered flag ahead of Anstey, Petrel, Covington and Geiser. Still pretty warm outside despite the rain that we had overnight. They're waving themselves on the big screen out on the track. But right at the start of the race, Thomas Covington, Team Monster Energy, grabbed a pretty decisive foxhole shot, but just ran it wide, allowed Jonas through up the inside. So Thomas Covington then taking the foxhole shot in moto number 1 here in Lyon. And it helped him to 4th as well in the first race.
Mami.